இந்த சைடே நில்லுங்க.
சரி.
அப்பதான் ஏன்னா அந்த சைடு நின்னோம்னா தெரியாது.
சரி.
நீங்கள் எப்படி ஃபோக்கஸ்.
சரி.
So, students, we have dissected the abdomen and I have reflected the skin. Okay. After reflecting the skin of the abdomen, so what we are seeing, the next layer is the superficial fascia. So this is the fatty layer of the superficial fascia. So in abdomen there is absence of deep fascia. There is no deep fascia in abdomen. Okay. So instead of the deep fascia, you will be having a thick fatty superficial fascia. In the lower part below the umbilicus, you will be having another one part, that is the membranous layer of the superficial fascia. So I have reflected. If you can see this is the superficial fascia. After reflection of the superficial fascia, you will be having another layer that is called the membranous part of the superficial fascia. So this is a membranous layer. You can see the thick white bands. Yeah, so these are all the membranous part of the superficial fascia. So this is the two parts of the superficial fascia. One is the fatty layer and the membranous layer of superficial fascia. After reflecting the superficial fascia, so see, there is no deep fascia, rather you can see the external oblique aponeurosis. Okay, so in anterior abdominal wall there are three muscles. One is external oblique, internal oblique and transverse abdominis. There are three muscles forming the anterior abdominal wall from the posterior to anteromedial aspect, and then in the center you will be having a straight muscle that is called rectus abdominis. So here we have not yet started the dissection of rectus abdominis, but what you are seeing here, the white glistening, is the rectus sheath, within which you are having the rectus abdominis muscle, and one more muscle is there in the median plane, that is the pyramidalis muscle, which will be deep to the superficial fascia, which we have not yet dissected now. So these are all the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall. One is the rectus abdominis muscle, and here what you are seeing is the external oblique muscle, and one more muscle which is hidden inside is the pyramidalis muscle, which will be a small triangular muscle in the pubic region. Okay. So now coming to the external oblique abdominis muscle, this external oblique abdominis muscle gets origin from the lower to 6 ribs. Okay, it will be intersecting with the serratus anterior and the latissimus dorsi on the behind. Okay, so this muscle gets origin from the ribs, lower 5 to 6 ribs, and then descends downwards. Okay, descends downwards like obliquely, downwards, forwards and medially, in the way of in the direction of downwards. You can see the direction of the fibers running from behind, coming to anterior aspect and below. Okay, so the direction of the fibers are downwards, forwards and medially. If you can see, all the muscle fibers will be running towards the medial aspect, and then it forms an aponeurotic part, and it has a great aponeurotic part which forms the layer of the rectus sheath, anterior wall of the rectus sheath, and then finally it gets united, it gets fused with the linea alba, which is in the center. Okay, so after dissection I can show you the linea alba completely. So here in the medial plane you will be having the linea alba, where the external oblique muscle lastly gets united, gets fused. Okay, and also it gets inserted along the outer lip of the iliac crest and the anterior superior iliac spine, and in the middle it will be inserted into the pubic tubercle. Okay, so pubic tubercle, pubic crest, and then anterior superior iliac spine, and then it will be running along the the iliac crest. Okay, so these are all the insertions of external oblique abdominis muscle. Okay, the other one important point is between the pubic tubercle. Okay, so here if I touch here, so this is the pubic tubercle. Between the pubic tubercle and the anterior superior iliac spine, this aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle get folded itself behind, and then it thickens and forms the inguinal ligament. Okay, I'll repeat once again. In the downwards part, in the lower part, the same aponeurosis of external oblique muscle, external oblique abdominis. So you can see here the glistening part I have not started it. So this is the aponeurosis of the external oblique. So I can show you after dissecting this superficial fascia. As of now, you must know the aponeurosis, the lower part. In the lower part, the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle curved itself. It will curve itself inwards. Okay, it will fold it upon itself inwards and attached to the pubic tubercle and the anterior superior leg spine. It forms the inguinal ligament. Okay, inwards on its inner aspect, it will be extending a small part of triangular part that will be forming the lacunar ligament, which will be attached to the pecten pubis and the pectinate line. Okay, so as of now, you must know these things. Okay, after reflecting the skin of the anterior abdominal wall, you will be seeing the superficial fascia, thick fatty superficial fascia, which you can see now. And in the lower part, the same fatty. So here and all the fascia is very thin, but if you see here, it will be forming a thin, thick membrane like fascia. So this is the membranous part of the superficial fascia, and this is the fatty layer of the superficial fascia of the abdomen. There is no deep fascia in the anterior abdominal wall. Okay, then after the reflecting the superficial fascia, you can see what you can see is the external oblique abdominis muscle, and then you can see the nerves. Okay, you can see the intercostal nerves which are coming from within. Okay, you can see the intercostal nerves because this muscle is getting origin from the ribs. You can see the these are all the anterior division of the lateral cutaneous branch of intercostal nerves. Okay, so it will be the lateral division will again divide into anterior and posterior division, right, as you know. So these are all the divisions of the intercostal nerves. Okay, while dissecting the superficial fascia, you will be mostly encountering two nerves. One is ilioinguinal nerve in the inguinal region. Okay, in the inguinal region you will be encountering ilioinguinal nerve, and one you will be encountering iliohypogastric nerves. Okay, so important two named nerves you must remember is one is iliohypogastric nerve and one is the ilioinguinal nerve. Okay, so these two nerves you are supposed to keep in mind while dissecting the superficial fascia from the external oblique aponeurosis when you are reflecting it. Okay, so now I will dissect the external oblique muscle, and then I will show you how exactly where all the insertion of it and further muscles of the anterior abdominal wall. Thank you.